So today I'm going to go through a collection of the original 3 Pikmin games for the Gamecube and Wii U. Since Pikmin is 3, Deluxe Edition is going to be coming out on the Switch, Nintendo Switch. And this one is a Japanese version that I got when the Japanese Gamecube launched, probably about a year or so before the UK version did. So it's the first console that I imported. It was relatively a lot easier in those times compared to beforehand, where you had to go through either certain game shops that can get those imported, or I think you used to get adverts in the back of magazines. You'd pay quite a lot more for a game or console to get it imported from Japan. And these ones on the Gamecube were a lot smaller, the cases were, than the UK or American versions. You can see that there, about the same thickness. And they also don't necessarily have any box art, just the instructions showing through the front of the case. You can see the disc in there as well, which is also a lot smaller than the standard CD or DVD size. Quite easy to come out of the case, because some of them can be a little bit of a pain. I don't read Japanese myself, so I guess the warning sheet is, I'm assuming, came with every Gamecube game, and some of them along the lines of, I imagine, how to hold them and clean them. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it in the video, but I think my neighbours are playing their telly quite loud, which has not been an issue before. Ironically, the only time that or the first time that I've put my voice in a video, and they may well be set on giving me a problem with the audio editing, but I'll persevere. So, instructions are a lot smaller as well. You can imagine all the standard warning stuff. Nice illustrations there. Basically the story of the original one, I think much like the others, so you crash land on a planet as Olimar, Captain Olimar, and discover the Pikmin As you can see here, both Olimar and the Pikmin are quite small. Not sure if that's, I guess that's to size. Let's have a look. Disc and Gamecube pad are to scale. So, a couple of centimetres in height each. And in the game, you go around an area where it's obvious that you're small because you find items that humans would have sort of discarded, bits of litter, drinks cans, bottles, rubber ducks even maybe, all sorts of stuff. And I think, if I remember correctly, you have to find bits of your crashed ship. That's basically the task. You have, I think in this game you might have a time limit, maybe 30 days in which to recover your ship parts and leave the planet. I could be wrong, it's been a long time since I played this one. You whistle to command the Pikmin to get their attention so they follow you, and you can pluck them out of the ground and throw them, where you throw them either at enemies or certain objects and areas to get them to do tasks like collect things or break down walls. They find these pellets and they carry them back. They go into this sort of machine which is called an onion, where the pellet gets sucked up into the onion and then shoots out a few more, depending on the size of the object that goes into the onion, shoots out a number of sort of seeds that bury into the ground around the onion, and then you can then go and pluck them out of the ground and create more Pikmin, which you'll need to, one, increase the size of your army, because then it makes it quicker to do things and multitask and break down walls, also to defeat enemies. And in the process of defeating the enemies, there's a good chance a few of them could get munched up and killed, or other hazards like being set on fire or drowned, depending on the kinds of Pikmin. And you'll basically need to make sure you've got a stream of replacements. Now in Pikmin 1 there was only 3 kinds of Pikmin: blue, yellow and red, guys here, and I can't remember all of their abilities, but the blue ones are the only ones that can go in water without drowning. The yellow ones can go near electricity and, well, basically immune to electricity, and also you can throw them higher, so you'll need those if you need to throw some up to a high ledge to reach something. And the red ones are immune to fire and also stronger fighting. I think they do more damage per attack. And you can only have, it says 100 there, so I'm assuming that's what it's referring to, but you can only have 100 Pikmin out at one time. Any of your other excess Pikmin are stored in the onion, ready for you to, when you go over to it, you can call them out if you need any replacements. So you've got an enemy here, it's called a Bulborb. That's one of the main enemies. That's a wall of some kind where they bash through it. That's a cardboard box where you'll need a certain amount of Pikmin to push the box out the way. This looks like a ship part. I can't remember if it's specifically parts that did fall off your ship when it crashed, or whether you can appropriate other sort of technology you find, bits and bobs like, I don't know, mobile phones or something. And then there's I think a bridge, which I don't recall seeing any of those in Pikmin 3, which I've played, recently. But I'm assuming if that is a bridge, that they will be tasked with. Well, sorry, yeah, there is a bridge, but it looks differently. In this one, it looks like it's made of twigs. Yeah, in Pikmin 3, you'll find like sort of almost shards of slate or a pot or something. It looks like where they'll layer them on to make bridges. So yeah, sorry, there is bridges in Pikmin 3, but it's just a different looking bridge. The best time to do the video because it's when school children are going back up the street, and also bin day and people coming back and bringing in their bins now, so it's not perfect, but with a family I have to take what I can to do these videos. So here's an onion. You can see all of them are there, plucking a Pikmin out of the ground. These are, not sure what they're called, but they come off flowers. You can find them lying around, or there's flowers that grow them. You throw the Pikmin up and it'll hit them, knock them down. There's another enemy here. Not sure of his name, but he's also in Pikmin 3. And he blows fire. So you need to attack him with red Pikmin to make sure the others don't get burnt. And this bit here shows you how they'll start off with leaves, just leaves on their head, then go to buds, and then flowers. Basically, as they go through those stages, they get faster. I think they might do more damage as well. And I can't remember if they get these gradually after they defeat enemies and hang around for consecutive days. But I know that if you have the onion shoot out of the seeds that go in the ground, if you leave those for a day and don't pick them, then maybe for a second day, they will, the length of time that they stay in the ground, they will have level up each time they stay in the ground. So if you leave them in there for a couple of days, when you pick them, then they'll be flowers and be stronger straight away, which is a good way of leave them in there, because they can't be damaged or eaten or attacked by enemies whilst they're in the ground. And then if you don't need them, pick them on the second day or whatever, and then put them back in the onion, and you'll have stronger Pikmin to call upon when the time requires. So it's telling you about how immune to fire, water, and electricity. I think there's something to do. It's got a picture of him with a bomb rock. I can't remember why. It's mainly the yellows with that. Maybe you can throw them further or something, I'm not sure. But the bomb rock's also in Pikmin 3, and I had other colours that could pick up and carry those still, so I can't quite remember what the yellows do that's special with regards to the bomb rocks. I mean, here it shows you that they're able to be thrown higher. And I guess that's about being on the menu. This is what happens when a Pikmin dies. Let's have a little yell. Well, depending, if it's a drowning, then garbling noise first. And then little ghosts float up into the air. There's the map screen. And I think there it's showing you how many Pikmin you've got out in the field and then how many Pikmin you'd have in the onions. There's a bulb. And the best thing you can do with these guys is throw them, the Pikmin, at their eyes. That's their weak spot. I'll do more damage. And also throw them onto their behind, because if they're on the back, then they're harder for the bulb to eat them. What they'll do is they'll shake them off and then scoop them up with their mouth. So you need to go for the more Pikmin you've got, you can overwhelm them. That's generally the case with most enemies. If you've got a lot of Pikmin, you can throw, or even, I don't know if you're able to in this game, but in 3 at least you have a charge move where you can action a command where any Pikmin you've got on you or with you in your command basically run at the enemy and suppress it. And it's a good idea to throw some on top, attack the eyes, and then when it shakes them off, have some more in your repertoire to throw a few more on, so it irritates and keeps them occupied, so they're not so keen to, getting a munching of your Pikmin. And sometimes when they fall down, that's when you can, good idea to charge them, swarm them, and take them out quickly. You can also do a move where you dismiss the Pikmin that are with you, and they will stand basically still, won't follow you around, and they separate out into the different colours, and it makes it easier for you to use your whistle to just select the coloured groups you want. So if you're going to be fighting an electric enemy or a fire enemy, you can dismiss them, just whistle, collect the Pikmin you want, and use those to attack just as those command whilst the others stand by. Do have to keep an eye on the fact that if you have some standing around, that other roaming enemies, if they're left too close by, may start attacking the Pikmin, and you have to be aware of that. Also, any Pikmin that you've got left out in the field that aren't under your command or within the safe zone area around an onion will be left behind at the end of the day, because each day, when the day ends, your ship, well, it wouldn't be your ship because your ship crashed, but maybe just the onion, I can't remember what it's like in Pikmin 3. Pikmin 1, they leave the surface, go back up into the air or space for the night, and any Pikmin that are left behind, you'll see a little sort of cutscene almost where some of the enemies will come in, usually bulbs, and munch on the remaining Pikmin, the stragglers that didn't get back to the ship in time. And you can feel quite sorry for them when you've done that. In Pikmin 3 at least, you have a counter that when you've got a 10-second countdown to the end of the day, you've got a counter up in the corner which states how many Pikmin you've got out and about which are not under your command or in a safe zone. So there's a desperate scramble to try and find any remaining Pikmin if you don't want to leave them behind and see them get munched up. So that's the instructions for the Japanese version. to. Haven't completed this. I can't remember how far I got in it, but I sort of, I don't know, either had other games to play or lost interest. And I think I'm going to start playing this again, because I've started playing Pikmin 3 on the Wii U again, and there's more to play of this game, because like I said, I don't even know how far. I can't even say whether it was a quarter of the way or what, I'm not sure, but there's definitely a lot more of the game to play. This one introduced a couple of more Pikmin. And there's a chance in this video that I could say Pokemon instead of Pikmin. I find myself doing that quite often. You've got the white one here, who's smaller, and I'm not sure what he does, because him and the purple ones are only in Pikmin 3, they're only in the sort of challenge mode, they're not in the story mode. And I've only just started playing the challenge modes again, where you try and get medals depending on your score. And they're in that mode. All I know is the purple one is heavier and stronger, and he's the equivalent of 10 Pikmin. So if you're carrying back something heavy, let's say like an apple, that would require 10 Pikmin to carry it back. I'm going to refer to him, I don't know what their genders are. This purple one, will basically be able to carry it back by itself. So he has a strength of 10 Pikmin. Now you can mix it up, different Pikmin. If you've got something that takes 20, you could have 2 of these, or you could have 1 of these and 10 of the others. You'll have a counter that will come out on the item, whether it's a defeated enemy, item you found, whatever it might be, and it'll say how many Pikmin are needed to carry it. And then as Pikmin are added to it above the counter, there'll be the number at the top will be the total amount of Pikmin, and you'll see how many more you need. If you haven't got enough, the little ones that are trying to do it on their own, you'll see them just heaving and struggling and getting nowhere. And also you can have more than enough Pikmin. I can't remember what the limit is, maybe it's twice the amount of Pikmin needed to move that item, but over a certain amount the Pikmin will actually find it easier, obviously, and then they'll move it faster. So if they've got to traverse a map to get it back to the ship or the onion or whatever it is, different games have different things, they will move quicker the more Pikmin that are added to the task of carrying the item. So this one's heavier and strength for 10 Pikmin, and these white ones, I'm not exactly sure what they do, but I think they're maybe faster. And somewhere on Pikmin 3 it said about them being poisonous. Now I'm not sure how that works. Maybe they can go through poison just like blue ones can go through water. Maybe in some videos, there's some videos that are around on the 3DS a while ago. Nintendo have now put them back out again on their channel on YouTube, where there's some short movies, and there's one where there's a excavator and they're all sort of taking it apart, and this one's spitting out acid and, you know, corroding away some nuts and bolts and things. I don't recall that these ones actually can spit acid, but yeah, maybe when the enemies eat them, maybe they spit them back out because they taste horrible or something. I'm not sure. So in this one you're crashing again. Okay, so on this one, Oliver goes back to the planet to find more treasure with his trusty assistant Louis. Basically it's the same premise as the other one. There's some more Pikmin, what enemies, and I'm not sure whether you still have a time limit on the amount of days. Being a Gamecube game, it's also got the smaller discs again. And the non-Japanese ones have a space to store memory cards. Can't remember if they have in there. I know they have in there as well. It's just above there.